So thank you very much for being here with us today. Welcome to the Career Week Marketing Panel. My name is Joyce, the Special Projects Coordinator with the Department of Business and Tourism, and I'll be your panel moderator for today. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that Mount St. Vincent University is located on Shabuktuk in Mi'kmaq, the unceded ancestral land of the Mi'kmaq people since time immemorial. This territory is covered by the governing chain of treaties of peace and friendship signed between 1725 and 1779. We pay respect to the knowledge embedded in the Mi'kmaq custodians of the lands and waters, and to the elders past, present, and future. We are all treaty people. This event is Learning Passport eligible. Just a reminder that the survey will be open for 40 hours after the panel discussion ends. Unless you are taking notes or translating again, please refrain from using your cell phone. And if there's time after discussion, we'll give an opportunity for students to ask questions. And those of you who are joining us online, you can put your question in the chat box in the Q&A sections at the end, and we'll try our best to get to them. And today we are joined with Jhimil, Maggie, MJ, and Laura. So, Laura, could you please tell us about yourself and please briefly describe your positions and the organization you work with?
I work with a hospitality restaurant group in downtown Halifax called Legendary Hospitality. I'm the marketing manager there, and I am a grad of MSvu, Business and Tourism.
Jhimil, you want to go next? Yes.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Jhimil. I work with Social Signals Marketing. We are a digital marketing agency focusing on like social media content marketing. We have worked with Craft and Corners Group, a lot of like brands. And my role basically revolves around filming, editing, and making social media content for brands. Thank you.
MJ?
Hi, I'm MJ Leslie. I'm the owner of a company called Chapter 3. So we're a marketing and growth consulting company. We typically work with startup companies as well as small and medium businesses.
And Maggie?
Hi, I'm Maggie. I work with Discover Halifax. We are a destination marketing organization that basically tries to maximize the economic and social benefits from tourism in Halifax. We have two sides where we do, the leisure side of visitation, where that would be your regular tourists that are coming to visit. And then we also have our other side, which would be the conferences that we bring into Halifax. And Halifax brings a lot of conferences in. So I am the manager of marketing content. I'm a Dal grad, and yeah, happy to speak today with all of you guys.
Maggie, keep going with you. How did you end up where you are today? How do you get into the marketing industry?
I went to Dalhousie. I'm originally from Ontario. I'm from a small town, and I really didn't love living there. I will say that the school that I went to was quite against like university education, and they were really pushing for just a community college, which is still fantastic, but I was looking to do something a little bit different. And from there, I decided that I was going to go to a different school, and that led me to Dal, which, I ended up falling in love with Halifax, and I love travel as well. And so through the Dalhousie Commerce Program, that's a mandatory co-op, honestly, actually, I'll take a few steps back. I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I was younger in high school. Like, even when I went to university, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. To be honest, I just knew that, commerce in some way would probably be something that could serve me later on in life. And so that's just what I decided to go with. I ended up falling in love with marketing and the creative side of all of that. So that's kind of how I ended up at DAL for Commerce. And through that, with the with the Commerce Co-op program, I ended up with Discover Halifax. It was an amazing first co-op that I had, and so I just kept on coming back, and I was doing some contract work in between of my co-ops, and by the time that I graduated, they had offered me a job full-time. So yeah, it was a fantastic experience, and here I am today.
MJ, how about you?
So I did my Bachelor of Public Relations at the Mount, and through that, that's also a mandatory co-op. It was my third and final co-op that I took. It was a combo of both communications and marketing role. I had done a ton of like a certification and concentration in marketing just because it was of interest to me. And then I realized that comms and marketing sit very closely, especially in private sector roles. So found myself in that role, and then that actually opened up my career into kind of startup industry. So I did a number of marketing, communications, and even some business development roles for the last 15 years. And then 3 years ago, I ended up leaving that kind of stage of my career, starting my own marketing consulting firm to help businesses deal with a lot of the challenges that I kind of saw and experienced firsthand when I was kind of coming up in through my career.
Laura?
I didn't study marketing specifically. I was here and I had to do co-op terms as well. One of my co-op terms involved a bit of marketing, but for me, it was just timing. I was working for a hotel in downtown Halifax when social media started emerging as a marketing tool. And I was young, and my boss, who is the director of sales and marketing, let me start tweeting and writing Facebook posts and then eventually Instagram. And then from there, I started specializing in social media marketing, and then I just broadened to general marketing.
Yeah, so I'm from Bangladesh, and back home, I used to be very passionate about filmmaking, photography, all those creative stuff. And I think marketing is one of the most creative commerce fields out there. And back in 2019, 2020, I stumbled upon digital marketing. It was like there was a lot of hype about it back then, and still there is. So I managed to do a course from Google, which was free, completely free, and then I like dived deeper, doing multiple courses on Coursera, Google, Skillshare, and everywhere. Yeah, so that's how I got into marketing, and then after coming here, I met with Tariq, the founder of like Social Signals, and yeah, I started working with them.
I'll keep going with you, Jhimil. What do you like about your field of work? What do you dislike?
Social media marketing is, I think, very fast paced, and you have to be like, you have to know the trends, and trends can come and go really quick. So, for example, something that's going viral now might not go viral tomorrow, or something that's worked before or might not work today. So, keeping up with all the trends and all the tools in this fast-paced environment is quite daunting sometimes, but it also makes it exciting as well. And another challenge is like people have a misconception of like that social media marketing is quite easy or making viral content is easy, but I think it takes a lot of like effort and strategy to pull it off.
MJ, how about you?
I think my love and hate is how quickly things move. So not to date myself, but like Facebook came out when I was in high school. So I was coming in to do my degree and learning about how social media was going to change the face of marketing. And a lot of that stands true today. So being able to be flexible, and you're kind of at the cutting edge of a lot of those changes. But the problem is that you're also at the cutting edge of those changes. So you have to figure out how to make them work for you. And I think one of the bigger, broader business impacts of marketing that is challenging, but also an opportunity, is just justifying and understanding the impact that you have on other business lines. So marketing's a big function of it, is to support sales. So even if you're doing all of the right things, or you have cracked the code on viral content, and have a really good marketing metric and portfolio of work going, if that's not translating to support other facets of the business, I think that can be a very difficult challenge to solve.
Laura?
What I love about marketing is that I get to be creative. What I dislike about marketing, social media marketing specifically, is negativity online, trolls and anonymous posts and that kind of thing. And also challenging, it's very challenging to track the success of a lot of different kind of marketing campaigns. Like, for example, you can put a billboard out, but you don't know if that's translating into sales. So that can be definitely a challenge.
And Maggie?
So what I love about my job is, I mean, first and foremost, I get to be an expert on all things Halifax, which is just so awesome. I feel like because of my job, I am so aware of everything that's going on in Halifax, and I get to meet so many amazing individuals behind so many incredible businesses. And also with my job, like, to everyone's point here with the creativity aspect, like, that is huge for me. And I touch kind of all things organic marketing at Discover Halifax. So I manage our social media channels, all of our website content. I am one of the authors of our visitor guide. I do our maps as well. Itineraries, all of that kind of stuff. And I love being able to be that voice. I think that Discover Halifax is also so incredible that they give me the creative freedom to kind of tell the story the way that I like to. And of course, that's been something that, you know, has come with time. I've been with Discover Halifax for about 6 years now. So, you know, it takes time to get to that point, but it feels amazing, I think, to be able to be on an incredible team where, you know, you have an aligned vision and you're able to tell a story so thoughtfully. And I'm so passionate about this place, and I, you know, coming to Halifax, like, I just fell in love with it, and I would love for other people to fall in love with Halifax the way that I did. So I think that that's something that I love about my job. I think that something that is a challenge and can be quite tough is dealing with the social issues in Halifax, and also, you know, anything with responding to crises. We do a lot of like natural disaster crisis management, and you don't always see that on like the social side of things, but that's kind of behind the scenes, and it's a very necessary thing. But it's challenging, of course. And then also on, you know, the social side of it, being that voice in those times and having such a large following, it can be like, you really got to watch what you're saying all the time. And it takes a certain type of person, I think, to be able to, like, I don't know, you just really need to slow down sometimes and think about every single word that you put out there. And, you know, if you don't exactly understand what you're writing about, like, you need to do that work. So, and you need to search a little more. And so I love also that side of it. And I love being able to, like, learn about Halifax through, you know, my own work. And that's amazing. But at the same time, there are times as well when it can be really challenging, you know, communicating with the public. And, you know, there are some times where we do have really sensitive issues that go on in Halifax. And a lot of people think that Discover Halifax is government run, but we are not affiliated with the government. So that can kind of be a little bit tricky to deal with as well. But overall, I still love my job so much. The creativity is amazing. The freedom with it is amazing. And just being able to be an expert on Halifax and be so immersed in this community is amazing.
So MJ, if you had to restart your career, would you do anything differently?
I don't think I would. I think I wouldn't have done a different degree. I really enjoyed my time at the Mount, and my PR degree has served me very well in marketing, just from a communications perspective. I do think that the trajectory of my career was very much defined by the positions I held in the different organizations I worked with. So I think I would probably be in a different place if I had taken any other combination of roles. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So in addition to finding ones that I really loved, which happened to be private sector, startup, and tech, when I was doing my co-op at the Mount, I also took jobs that, in hindsight, it's definitely not what I would be good at. So I did a government job as well as a nonprofit job, but that variety and just knowing what I didn't like about those roles or that type of work really helped define and validate the path that I went on and the other roles that I continue to take. So that's always kind of my, I don't know, wise words for students that are coming out of school, is to take different opportunities. And this is a time in your career where having, variety is really good, because it'll help shape both what you are good at, but what you really like to do or don't like to do.
Jhimil?
Yeah, so if I had to restart, I would have dived into social media directly instead of learning about digital marketing as a whole, because digital marketing can be a very broad term. Like there is email marketing, SEO, social media content. So yeah, and I think learning specifically one thing from the start can help you more instead of trying to learn everything. Like there is a saying called "Jack of all trades, master of none."
Laura, what would you do? What would you do? Sorry.
I wouldn't really change much. Marketing's ever evolving, and I learned a lot at every stage of my career. And when I was first entering the Mount, Facebook was just invented, and what I ended up doing 10 years later didn't even exist as a career at that point. So I've just learned along the way, and I don't think I would change much.
And Maggie?
I think I would say a lot of what MJ said. I think that, I don't think that I would change too much about what I did to get to where I am, but there are some things for sure that I would change. I think that in university, I was a little bit shy at times, and I wish that I took more opportunities to go into like case competitions, or I don't know, sign up for any workshops, go to networking events, even if they feel uncomfortable. And you might walk away and you might not meet anyone and you might not feel great about that. But I've also been there, and just keep trying and putting yourself out there. And I think saying yes to every single opportunity that comes your way is another great thing. That was something that I did not always do, and now today I try to say yes to every single opportunity, because even if it doesn't feel like it's something that is valuable to you, it probably is, and it's probably helping your self-development quite a bit. Even something like this today, being able to come and talk with all of you guys, that's a great opportunity for me to be able to work on speaking in front of people. And I think that I'm always looking for ways to improve myself, and I think that that's not something that I took advantage of enough in university, because there are so many ways that you can develop yourself and make yourself a little more ready for when you graduate and you enter the field of work that you're into. So yeah, and then of course, like what you were saying, MJ, I think that even if it's not the job that you love, trying different things as well is incredible. I didn't do so much of that with my co-ops, but I did get to try some other co-ops as well with different organizations other than Discover Halifax, and I still really valued my time with them. I ended up learning that, I think that maybe destination marketing is something that I really want to do. And I wasn't quite sure that that's what I always wanted to do before I had tried other professional jobs. So, just see what works for you. And if it doesn't work for you, don't beat yourself up.
Jhimil, has your role changed due to the pandemic? If so, then how? To you, how has the marketing industry changed due to the pandemic?
I think after pandemic, the rise of like short form content has gone up really like big, and because of that, like people were locked up, and then my brands and like businesses had to connect to their audiences through a meaningful way or through a authentic way. So like making like authentic contents instead of like very high budget videos. That's how the marketing industry has like shifted, in my opinion. And short form content like TikTok, Instagram Reels are very powerful in like promoting brands and businesses right now.
Laura?
My role specifically didn't change during the pandemic, but the way I worked had to change. Part of marketing and communications is taking a temperature check all the time. And the way that we communicated and the messaging that we put out at different stages of the pandemic were definitely impacted. A lot of budgets went down for a lot of different industries, which impacted the marketing industry as a whole. So I second that, yeah, a lot of the free social media tools and that kind of thing took off, and a lot of high budget projects were put on hold or never were executed.
Maggie?
My role definitely changed, of course, when the pandemic hit, because, we weren't really traveling. So that was really difficult for Discover Halifax, since we are all about tourism. But yes, my role did change after that. And to Laura's point, like the temperature checks, like that is so real. And I don't think that that was something that we cared about it before, but it was not something that we were doing as much as we are now. And I think that social media has changed quite a bit. I think that, of course, with the rise of TikTok, like I feel like people are very upfront about how they feel about things, and things can kind of spiral out of control on social media. And so again, I think that just being careful about every single thing that you say, that's huge, because people can be very critical, and that can be difficult. And I think that, yeah, like, I mean, to your point as well, with the short form content, like that has blown up for sure, for me especially. And we're just trying to find ways again to like reach people in a more authentic way, which really that was not something that I did a lot before with Discover Halifax. But now, I mean, I'm sure that everyone in the room probably has felt this way, that like the age of influencers it's kind of a dying thing. Like you want to be seeing more authentic content that like touches your heart in a way. And I know that like for myself, if I see anything that says like ad on TikTok or whatever, like I'm scrolling past that so fast, or like branding partnership or whatever, like I don't want to see it because I just don't believe in it. And so that's a huge thing today, just making sure that you're coming across as authentically as possible, and really, connecting with your brand in that way, and making sure that you have that down. But yeah, like I think all of those things together have really heightened quite a bit since the pandemic.
MJ, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think there was two big things in the pandemic that kind of changed how I was doing my job, at least. One was in-person trade shows. So I was at the time responsible for marketing a software product, which was a business to business. So our clients were Disney and Uber of the world, and those relationships are very hard to foster or establish virtually. So our sales team was doing a lot of in-person events, or we had $1 million trade show budget. So turning that into thinking outside the box, and how do we actually figure out how to manage some of these relationships without having any line of sight to this coming back. And it, in fact, was years before we were able to do some of those conferences again. So we got creative and pushed our team to think, you know, how can we do something that embodies the same type of relationship and that kind of physical touch without having that. We did a lot of impromptu, like virtual happy hours or just breakout sessions so that we could connect with folks all over the world and remain some of those, you know, foster those relationships. And that really worked for us. I think the other part of that is people, much like everybody said, things move really fast and change in marketing. Everyone was very convinced that trade shows were going to be gone forever, that people would not go back to that life. I think the trend is that this year will be beyond what 2019 numbers were for in-person trade show kind of attendance. So I think in both marketing and tourism, there's this very extroverted, relationship-based kind of selling undertone that you'll just need to be prepared for and figure out how to capitalize on that, because that's a human behavior point of view that won't change. The other part for me is I was actually running the operations of a company at the time, and I realized that was the first time, even though I'd been in marketing for probably a decade, that the marketing department, because it usually is full of extroverted people or creatives, really was leaned on as part of that temperature check for internal comms, but also just bringing energy and you know, kind of some happiness and levity into otherwise really difficult circumstances where people were uncomfortable working remote for the first time, and again without any of that human interaction. So I think that remains true. It was highlighted very much for me in the pandemic, but having marketing kind of be the hype guys in most circumstances there is quite a bit of truth to that. So I think taking that on in your role, whether it was pre-pandemic or not, is also just it's kind of par for the course.
Laura, what particular skills, attributes, or training that you think would make a candidate stand out from the rest when applying for marketing positions?
I think creativity is huge. If you're self-motivated to continually be learning and training and learning new skills, that would stand out. Specifically, I can't predict what skills those will be or what tools or what digital tools, because those are changing and growing all the time, the list. But if you look like someone who wants to continually learn new things, then you would definitely stand out.
Maggie, how about you?
I think that, you know, especially for my role, I do a lot of writing. And I've always loved writing so much, but honestly, I write a lot more than I expected that I would, to be honest. So I write a ton every single day. And so obviously, I think that, you know, for my type of role, you do need to be a pretty strong writer because we just touch so many things, from blogs to social posts to, you know, our visitor guides and everything in between, but also to be able to write in different tones. Like there is a different tone sometimes for social media, even across all different platforms. You know, you can write in a little bit of a different style. You've got to kind of know, and it doesn't always come like so quickly, but learning how to write for your audience is a huge thing. And like at Discover Halifax, we do kind of have like our main audience, but then also when we look at you know, different social channels, like our Facebook demographics are like, you know, women that are 65 plus, and they absolutely love seeing the lobsters and the lighthouses of like Halifax. But then, you know, you've got Instagram, for example, and it's completely different. Like, sure, people do love to see a beautiful photo and stuff like that, but they want to see something that's like a little bit deeper. And then you've got TikTok, which is like completely different, and you take on like a completely different tone. But then you have like the visitor guide and the website and everything, and so you have to kind of learn how to navigate the ways in which you write. I think that that's a pretty big thing, but that definitely comes with time. That's something that I had to learn with time in my job. And I also think that at Discover Halifax, at least for myself, I think that one particular skill that like helped me to kind of get to where I am is that I think that I'm pretty like self-reliant and resourceful, and things do move so fast, and sometimes you've got to be the one that just is, you know, doing it all. There are times where, you know, we're definitely like spreading ourselves thin because marketing can be a bit of a beast sometimes. And so I think that, you know, being able to try and solve things yourself before going to your manager or your supervisor, that can be a really big thing. And, you know, of course, if you have like a question that you can't solve, then absolutely, you know, go to your supervisor or your manager. But I think that also taking that time to try and learn by yourself is huge. And I think that sometimes like you learn even better by really taking that time to learn something. And I mean, it all takes time though. And I think, again, one other thing is just being able to be intuitive about your audience and know how to be sensitive during certain times. You know, like Discover Halifax definitely has quite an image. And so it would be pretty bad if I started like replying to nasty comments in like really nasty ways back or something. Like, I can't do that, of course. And sure, there are sometimes times where like we do receive hate, and I would love to say something, but I can't do that, of course. So yeah, I think that just being able to really be intuitive about that kind of stuff and know how to respond in certain situations, knowing when to, you know, bite your tongue a bit, and just taking on your brand identity and helping to weave a little bit of yourself even into that, like, can really make it feel like it's your own. And that's a really special thing as well. And I think that, again, being a little bit like resourceful and a little bit self-reliant can help in a way for you to make something your own, where, you know, I'm not Discover Halifax, but because the team is just so much like, okay, Maggie, we don't need like to look over anything that you do. It's really nice to be able to show that I can do my work without having anyone else that needs to approve it. And it just feels so nice to be able to have that creative freedom.
Jhimil?
So I'll say that having a deep understanding of like social media trends or like tools is a big plus point if you have it. And getting to learn how to edit videos, how to do some graphic design. I'm not saying that you have to be the best video editor or graphic designer out there, but just learning how to create like simple posts, simple videos, how to edit simple videos is a huge plus point. Creativity is also one of the main skills, I'll say, that you need, because it's a fast-paced environment and you have to step out of the box and think out of the box sometimes for like viral video ideas or something like that. So having being creative and strategic at the same time, having a mix of both is crucial, I think.
And MJ?
I'd say the two things that I always hire for in mind are self-starters and problem solvers. I think those are like so critical to any job, but specifically marketing. It's hard to demonstrate that. So anytime you have the opportunity to explain an anecdote where you've actually done that, that can be a huge value add and really help people learn how you work. We have a saying at my company that if you're going to bring a headache, bring the Advil. I have to deal with problems all the time. If you come with ideas and make my job easier to solve for those problems, that's a huge value add to me. I don't know everything, certainly. I'm not on TikTok. So my team is built up with people who have that type of experience and know those, you know, particular social skills that they can bring ideas and, again, solutions to my company and our clients. From a resume perspective, specifically, I think I said relationships like 10 times in the 50 words I've said. If you can bring something really novel or specific and personalized in either your cover letter or your resume or your interview or your email that you're sending any of those things to a potential employer, I absolutely immediately put those to the top. I think it's very important. And in the age of AI, it's not that common. So it will help you stand out.
Maggie, what is one piece of practical, tangible advice that you would give to our business students entering the workforce?
I think that one of the first things that I would say about like a great piece of advice when you're entering the workforce is if there is a job that like you're really after, go the extra mile, like MJ said, and really try to make your resume incredible. Write a really great cover letter. Or, I mean, for Discover Halifax, one thing that I did to end up getting my job was I decided to write a sample blog that was in the same style as like a Discover Halifax blog. And what I did I actually still have, from my first ever co-op, I have my interview, all of the questions, and I have all of the notes that like my manager at the time, well, she was my manager after that, but she was interviewing me. She has all of the notes with all of the answers that I had given her. And it was awesome to look back at that because now I can kind of tell people like what I did to end up like getting my job, because with Discover Halifax also there with some positions will have like well over 100 applicants, and yeah, it can be really competitive to get a job like that. And for me, I was just a co-op student, so very different. But I think that trying to go the extra mile and take something on where you can kind of show that, you know, if you were to start working tomorrow, you could, in a way, like just showing that, yes, I'm ready and I'm prepared and I know what this organization is. I understand the brand, I understand the language, and I, you know, just the visuals and everything, like delivering that, I think can be a really great way to kind of get an in with a job. And that's something that I look for as well now, especially when we do have co-op students that are applying. If a co-op student is like writes a blog that is like, you know, in the style of Discover Halifax's tone and everything, I am like, oh yes, thank you. Like, you are going to make my life so easy, and you're going to learn so much from me because you're just showing and you're demonstrating that you understand the work that we do and who we are. I think that is a major thing. And I also know that sometimes it is exhausting to apply for jobs. I have definitely been there before where I have applied to so many jobs and I don't get anything back, and it feels awful, and it doesn't, like, you really at certain points feel like giving up and you don't want to put that work in because you're like, well, what if I don't end up getting this job? Like, it's a waste. I still think that that is not a waste if you don't end up getting the job, because you're still working on your own skills, and that's really important. And I think that, you know, even, yeah, if you don't get the job, that doesn't mean that your application was bad or anything. It's just maybe you weren't the perfect fit. But I do think that just going that extra step, sometimes if there's a job that you're really, really after, like, even if it's not part of the requirements, do it. Just go for it.
MJ.
I have a couple. Networking is definitely number one. Keeping connections and fostering relationships. Every job I've had or interview, which then turned into a subsequent job, post co-op, has been just because I knew somebody who knew somebody to get into an interview. So I think maintain those, manage them, foster them, and don't burn bridges. So even if you don't like the co-op or a manager, maintain a level of professionalism, because as I'm sure most of you know, Halifax is very small, so easy to run back into those people. The other one I think is asking questions. I know it's hard, especially when you're starting out because you don't have all the answers. Good news is, like, most people 10 or 12 or 15 years in also don't know all the answers. So don't be shy to ask questions when it's appropriate, and to make sure that you know the answer or to validate some of your ideas. So there's two ways of doing that. One, it was just to ask the question. I think the biggest one that I run into still today is when people use acronyms. I have no idea what you're talking about. Can you please explain what that acronym is so I know exactly that we're on the same page? The other one that I would encourage, which is hard, but to Maggie's point, even if it's through the process of applying or once you get a job, just validating your own thoughts on something. So take a crack at it is my number one advice in a position. Just try and put something on paper so that you know what you're doing or what the company wants is like you're aligned on that. I think that's the biggest difference coming out of school is there is no book that tells you what to do or what everything means. So you really do need to lean on the people around you to help validate that. That can still be your group of peers. I still to this day have a group of PR grads that I lean into to ask questions or use to find answers. So I think that those are pretty critical skills to have for advice.
Laura, what do you have?
I think it's very important to be coachable, and that can apply to any industry. And you might start off as marketing and then move to sales or move laterally through different industries and that kind of thing. But coachability is huge, no matter where you're working. Then I would agree with what they said about relationships and networking. It's so important, and you'll get jobs that you might not even be qualified for because of people that you know. And yeah, definitely don't burn those bridges. And then to Maggie's point, if you are applying for a job that you really want, get to know that company, get to know their backstory, get to know their brand, know their voice, know their social media accounts, know everything about them.
Last but not least, Jhimil.
So I would say to like go the extra mile. So for example, there is a term called like spec work in videography industry or filmmaking industry. So there you just make videos for example, if you want to make, if you want Nike to hire you, make a commercial for them in their style, their branding, and try to sell that to them. So I did it like twice back home. I made a small drink commercial, energy drink commercial for a brand, and I emailed them. I did not expect them. I expect to like get a reply from them, but fortunately they ended up liking it, and they paid quite a lot of money for that commercial. So build a portfolio if you want to do marketing, build a social media portfolio, build a website. Those can show that, yeah, you know how to do some things. It like there is some credibility in you.
That was all the question we have. Do you have any questions? Do you want to ask panelists? Do the students online have any questions? You can write the questions in the chat. There's some questions.
I want to ask Maggie because I know the Discover Halifax when last year when I come to Halifax, and my family and I want to know about some event in Halifax, and then I found this website. But can you tell some about the detail about your job about the Discover Halifax, and how do you collect their information to the website?
That is a great question. So yes, when we're collecting any information from our website, actually I'll take a step back. So Discover Halifax is a membership membership-based organization. It's not for profit. The membership is completely free, but we have a network of over 800 members. These are all different businesses across the Halifax region. And the Halifax region spans all the way from Hubbard's, like on the South Shore, to Ecom Secom, all the way down the Eastern Shore. So it's pretty big. That's the whole HRM. And so, yeah, with all of our wealth of members, they all have access to kind of like this back-end portal of our website. So when there are events or anything like that, they're able to submit them. We have someone that approves them. I used to be that person. And then they show up on our website. We also do create events ourselves on the websites, or sorry, just on our website. And yeah, that's usually how we do it. When it comes to like any blogs or anything like that, we completely do all of that content on our own, but every single member has their own featured member page on our website that they are able to edit as much as they want, whenever they want, and they're able to submit events. Also, you know, anyone is actually able to submit an event to Discover Halifax. On our website at the bottom, if you scroll down to the very, very bottom, you'll see that there's a little area that says submit an event, and you can do that. That'll be sent to us. We can approve it, and it'll show up on our events calendar. Did that answer your question? Okay, awesome.
Do we have any more questions? Yeah. Okay.
Hello at home. So I have a question mainly for MJ, but also Maggie could maybe like speak to it as well. We talked a little bit about hiring, and I think this might be helpful for everybody here because we're all looking for jobs. We have our co-ops. What is the best resume you've received, and what stood out about it?
So this stands for both resumes, but I think documents in life right now. If you can elevate like the key takeaways at the top, the things that I need to know about you that are special, different, why you're a good fit for my company, that really stands out. Formatting wise, it's all over the place. There's some with pictures on them. There's guidelines. I'm sure you guys are probably going through a session with the co-op program now on that. Those I don't like, that doesn't impact decisions for me very much. It's very much related to the content, elevating the most important things about yourself. And then like a good, crisp, personalized cover letter is the absolute way to my heart. In fact, and we did some hiring already in the last 2 months. And both of those people had put together not only a personalized cover letter, but then in the email also reiterated some of the really personalized components of why they thought they would be a good fit for the team. And a little bit of humanization around it. So I'm a big dog person. They put in that they had been part of a dog rescue as like a PS at the bottom. So I think that those are the ones that I would say will consistently get you to the top for me.
Thank you.
I completely agree with everything that you said, MJ. So I don't think that I need to add to that, but I do think that one thing for interviews is like, when I sit down and do an interview with someone, you know, interviews can be tough and they can be a little bit scary, for sure. But I think like try to go into it as relaxed as possible. You don't need to like sit up straight or anything like that. You know, we're humans, the both of us. And so it's just nice sometimes to have like a good conversation and feel it out. And I mean, it's very tough sometimes to calm your nerves, of course, and so you know that's totally understandable, but I think just going into it, keeping relaxed, and you know, don't come into it with too many like rehearsed answers. Of course, you know, come into it prepared, absolutely, but don't be afraid to be a human, you know, because that's what we are. So yeah, I think that usually like with interviews that I've done in the past, especially with co-op students, I really love to just find the people that like, they just seem self-confident, but they're still relaxed and they're playing it cool. And that usually reflects in all of the work that they do. Usually with those people, I have seen that like if there have been any issues, you know, like a problem comes up with whatever at work, it's like these people usually seem to be pretty like calm, and it's like kind of like water off a duck's back, you know, like, and yeah, so just like take your time to slow down, and it's all good. And like, yeah, again, we're humans, so just relax and have fun with it.
Thank you.
So we have Mason online.
Oh, you want me to talk? Hello?
If you're speaking, I can't hear you.
I said, you want me to talk?
He's not on chat.
I typed it in already.
I see nothing in the chat. So
Try
can
your
you
microphone
explain the
again.
difference between advertising and marketing with examples?
I can take a shot. Marketing is a general, broad term for, I think, the efforts that you put in to reach your target audience and to build that audience and to communicate your brand. And the end goal of that is sales. Advertising is a other broad term. There are many types of advertising, but that's a more specific, you know, a billboard is an advertisement. A print ad in a magazine is an advertisement. A commercial on TV is an advertisement. So advertising is a tool that marketers use.
Okay. I have a question for you. How has or does AI affect your industries today? What are the effects on them? Is it beneficial? If there's a downside or a negative, maybe you can address that as well.
AI is definitely something that is very present, and I don't really think that it's something that we can avoid today. At Discover Halifax, we actually really lean into AI, but we also have an AI policy. So, you know, there are things that we do use AI for, and there are things that we do not use AI for. So, for example, I would never write anything that is like just all done in AI. Like I would not do like an Instagram post or a blog or anything like that. But I think that AI can be really, really fantastic if you are brainstorming. I think that it's really great for just making you more efficient. For example, like if I'm going to write a blog and I want to do like some SEO with that, then sometimes it's really great to just use some AI tools to kind of get around that and just move a little bit faster. What else? I think that, I mean, yeah, there are so many ways that we use AI at Discover Halifax, but it's really in kind of like the back end of things. We do a lot of research, and so we use a lot of AI tools to, you know, be able to translate that information or help us in some ways. I know that also like with our membership, we have someone who is constantly doing reports on everything, whether it's like a membership engagement thing and we're looking at every single time all of our members engaged with us over the years, or how many times did this member advertise with us throughout the year. Like there are just so many ways that we use those tools to just make ourselves a little bit faster. But I have seen AI being used in the destination marketing community in a way that I don't agree with it. And I think that there are some organizations that I've seen where they have used it and it's just like the information is blatantly wrong. I've also, like, I know that I don't think that I would be necessarily calling this destination out because it ended up, this is like a big video out there, but it was Quebec City for Christmas. They did a TikTok and it got like a awesome amount of views, like I think over 3 million or something like that. And you know, it's a fun little Christmassy video, so it's not, you know, it's just like a fun little thing that they did organically. But, you know, it is a video that is completely AI produced, and that's not something that Discover Halifax would ever be able to do. Like, there's no way that we could ever do that. We also, you know, like, there are some times where we have an incredible photographer that we work with and we send him out to get photos, and there are times where we see something and it's like, oh, you know, we don't love that this person is kind of like, you can see their face so clearly and they're not super happy with it. We don't really love to have like a bunch of faces in our photos just because of everything that comes with that. You know, you usually need to sign like releases for all of that kind of stuff. But our photographer, he's just out on the street taking photos. And then there are also times where you see something where it's like maybe a trash can is out and it doesn't look that great and you would want to remove it, but like that is just not something that we do. And, you know, we kind of lean into that side of Halifax as well, though. Like we're not going to pretend that like we're always this super bright and sunny city. Like, you know, for example, our urban walking map, it's a photo of two people with like their coats over their heads, like running in the rain. So, you know, that now I'm getting off on a tangent, but yeah, there are so many ways that we do use AI and that I use AI. Like, again, I love it so much for brainstorming and just for like streamlining the things that I don't really need to put a lot of thought behind, but I wouldn't ever directly use it for any of the content that I write or create.
I'll just add to that because I saw it on my way here and sent it to my team and was like, well, this is good to know. AI is just changing how we have to think about things and just like from a challenge perspective with marketing. So you've already probably heard long form is basically discounted now because there's a good chance that somebody didn't write that AI wrote that. So you're like the need for new ideas and creative ideas is being, I think, forced. The other part is I just saw when Google includes a AI overview, so the snippet at the top that says like this is what it is that you've just Googled about, the likelihood that that person's going to click on any of the links to find out more is very, very low. So that is a huge change for SEO as a subcomponent of marketing and how people think about like literally people's jobs are SEO. So if that is now removed or is a major barrier to success, how are we going to repurpose that role, but how do we get around that with a new idea for how we're going to capture people online?
Yeah, so I think if you can utilize AI, it can be really helpful. For example, if you did a video and your audio is really bad, there are certain AI tools that can enhance the audio and it feels like it's been recorded in a studio. So leveraging those AI tools, for example, automating like email replies, DMs, can like make your like life really efficient as well.
We have another questions online. What drives sell more advertising or marketing?
I think that goes back to what Laura said, where advertising is a component of marketing, so it definitely plays. But when you look at a marketing strategy or a marketing mix, advertising will be part of that. Tracking, measuring, and figuring out what's the most effective will like very much depend on what it is that you're marketing or trying to sell, which is why marketing is complicated. And back to, one of the big challenges in this industry is figuring out the impact of that, how that's supporting sales, where we're actually getting traction, what's a sustainable strategy versus one viral TikTok video. So I think that there's no easy answer other than advertising is a component. It happens to be a very big, well-funded component of marketing often, but some of the best sales come from organic content versus an advertising campaign.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that MJ says. And yeah, for myself, like I work more on the organic side of what we do. So there's no money. I mean, there's sometimes like some money that's put behind some of the content that I do, but organic content is usually just, there's no money behind that. That's, your regular Instagram posts, your Facebook posts, blog posts, any website content, really, just anything that doesn't have money that's put behind it. And I think that, that can be incredibly successful. I think that organic marketing is like a fantastic way to reach people in a very authentic way, but you don't get to choose who sees that. So, that's the one thing. And when you're putting money behind a post on Instagram, for example, or, you're doing like a paid campaign on any social media platform, it's going to reach way more people than like your organic channels would, right? So that can be kind of an interesting thing because, sometimes people will be more inclined to, click on an ad, or there are some people that are really opposed to ads. And so they are really into just like the organic content. And at Discover Halifax, it can be definitely kind of interesting because we're not just selling a product. We're selling a destination. So it's kind of hard to see how that tracks sometimes. But then again, I think that when we do like our paid campaigns, they definitely attract a ton of people, and we don't always see the conversions. Like, for example, for 2 years, we had an ad that was running in Times Square in New York, actually. And I mean, of course, that is reaching a ton of people every single day. And if you set in Times Square, maybe like every 30 minutes it would come up. But, how do you track those conversions? How do you know that somebody saw that ad and is saying like, I am going to travel to Halifax because I saw this? So that can be a little bit tricky, but I think the visibility that comes from paid advertising is huge. So you don't always get that with organic. And yeah, the visibility is incredible. Like I was actually just in Toronto last week, and I was at sort of like a family gathering in a way, and there were so many people that were not just family members and people that I had never met in my life. And the amount of people that came to me like talking about this ad when they knew that I was from Discover Halifax, like that's all paid advertising. And I was shocked to see that like so many people were aware of it. And of course, we do have that awareness with all of the analytics, but it's different when you go out into the real world and people are talking about that. So that's sometimes how you know that something is working. But yeah, they're two very different things, but they're both really effective just in their own ways.
Okay.
It was mentioned at the beginning of the panel how short form content really started to emerge during COVID-19 and how approaching those platforms with authenticity was really important for your companies. So my question is, how has short form content affected your marketing strategy, and how have those platforms changed how you approach content creation in general?
Yeah, so now as a company, as in our agency, we mainly focus on short form content right now, because it's one of the most effective ways of like social media marketing. And yeah, that's basically it from me. If you want to.
So I create a lot of the short form content that Discover Halifax does, and I'm not gonna lie, it is a beast to do that, like on top of all of the other things that I do. So we do have a TikTok account, but it's been slow for sure because it takes a lot of time to get out of the office and get in front of businesses or just whatever it is that you're doing, and then go home, edit that down, and put that on whatever channel. So it can be tricky for sure. I think that it's something that we're working on, like developing a strategy for that a little bit better, because I think that TikTok in itself is just a beast. And I know that in the destination marketing community, every single destination marketing organization across Canada feels the exact same way. So, I mean, that's another thing. I think that I don't know for sure, but I think that in the future and even right now, like just being someone who is very knowledgeable about short form content or is really good at like capturing some content quickly and editing it down in a nice clean way and being able to get that to whoever is going to post that, like that would be a huge deal right now if you're able to do that. So yeah, I think it's something that we're still learning, and there are a lot of growing pains with that. And sometimes it's like, I did what feels like 6 hours of work for like a 20-second video. You're like, man, that doesn't always feel like it pays off, especially if you don't get a ton of views. So it's just something that we're learning, and yeah, it's something that we really want to lean into more this year, and that's actually something that we're working with our photographer, also now capturing some just like beautiful frames of some motion going on. But yeah, like we were definitely way more focused on like just static images for a long time, and we're still not exactly there with our short form content, but we're working on it.
Before I was the marketing manager for Legendary Hospitality, I was the social media manager for years, and it was the hardest job that I've ever had. We were using a consultant at one point, but now, just to give you an idea of how much work it is to be a social media manager, we created a full-time position, 40 hours a week for our social media manager, and we hired her from within the company. And when we took her on, so we've got 6 venues, 2 are seasonal that are only open from May to October, and 4 of the restaurants are open year-round. She definitely spends 40 hours a week creating what we were aiming for 60% short form, like reels and video kind of content. And she's just constantly all over the place, everywhere. She's got the busiest job.
You have a question there? Okay. Thank you, the panelists, Laura, MJ, Maggie, and Jhimil, taking time being here and share with our students. We have some gifts for you. And thank you, students, for being here and listening to panelists. Hopefully that would help the future.